Hi there everyone and welcome to Classic Reviews. Today I will be reviewing the Stone Temple Pilots Greatest Hits CD, which is simply titled Thank You. And this Greatest Hits CD was released just after the band split up in 2003. The band Stone Temple Pilots formed in 1989 under the name Mighty Joe Young, but due to someone else already having that name, they eventually changed their name to Stone Temple Pilots, which I think is a better name anyway. They released their debut and best-selling album Core in 1992, and despite some controversies, they went on to become one of the biggest bands in the 90s and early 2000s. Before we start going through the track list, I really want to talk about the singer Scott Weiland. Personally, I think he's right up there, and I mean right up there, in terms of being one of the greatest frontmen of all time. Like, I just love how flamboyant and chaotic he was on the stage. And I'm talking about both how he moved and danced about on stage and sometimes what he wore on stage too. Another great thing with Scott Weiland that I've learnt listening to this greatest hits album is how versatile of a singer he was. Ultimately, he's a baritone, and that shows with the songs on here from the first album or two where he gets them Eddie Vedder comparisons. But on the later songs on here, you notice him singing a bit more higher and raspier. Later on in his career, he always changed about his singing. Like when he was in Velvet Revolver, his singing just seemed a lot more raw, I guess. But then later on, you hear him singing in a more crooner style on a Christmas solo album he did. So now we start with the track by track, and some songs I'll be able to say a lot more about than others, by the way. The first song on this Greatest Hits album is the song Vaseline from their second album, which is called Purple. And this song is usually played early in the set list when the band are playing live. The song first thing you hear with the song is the drums, and then the guitars soon fade in, and then that leads into the main riff of the song, which on the guitar is just F to G, F to G, F to G. I think if a song is well, there may well be an acoustic guitar track underneath the main riff, which is usually quite common practice. Another thing with the vocals, the verses are just single tracked and the vocals are doubled in the chorus, which again is very common practice. Now, before I carry on with the track by track, I think it's only fair I quickly talk about the two brothers. I'll quickly talk about the two brothers in the band, which are Dean DeLeo, who plays guitar, and Rob DeLeo, who plays bass. Both are really clever and creative guys who have played together in a few different bands actually for well over 30 years, and they've actually produced a couple of albums too. They do have a range of musical influences, like some STP songs. You notice their rock influences from bands like Led Zeppelin and etc. etc. But in other STP songs, if you were to really listen to the instrumentation, like some of the bass lines and the guitar chords are actually very jazz influenced. So track number 2 on this album is the song Down, which is one of the two songs on here that is from the number 4 album. So yeah, if you haven't just gathered, track list on this particular Greatest Hits CD is not in chronological order. Track number 3 is the song Wicked Garden, which is off their debut album Core. Like the song Vaseline, it tends to be a song that's near to the start of the set list when the band play live. And there is a slight Alice in Chains feel to the song, which kind of makes sense and isn't surprising considering that the album was released in 1992 when grunge was big. Track number 4 is the song Big Empty, which, like the song Vaseline, is off their second album Purple, and this song was part of the soundtrack for the film Pro. And yeah, Crow was the film where the main actor Brandon Lee, who's the son of Bruce Lee, got accidentally killed on set. Anyway, this is one of my favourite songs off this album, and this is one of my favourite songs off this album, and it did win an MTV Movie Award in 1995 for best song featured in a movie. Track number 5 is from the debut album, and it's the song Plush, which is one of the band's biggest songs. Like the previous song Big Empty, it won an award, and it won an award for best hard rock performance at the Grammys in 1994. And it also earned the band an MTV Video Music Award for Best New Artist in 1993. When you listen to the song on this album, you immediately notice the chorus sounding similar to the previous song Big Empty, with that loud and heavy distorted guitar sound. I will admit, when listening to this song, with the way Scott Weiland is singing, it's understandable why they got the Pearl Jam comparisons and jokes and all that. In the yeah, in the chorus of this song, they've added more effect and there is double vocals and reverb to make it sound bigger. And if you ever listen to the isolated vocals of this song, you'll actually hear Scott Weiland cough a little bit, and that is due to the style of singing. That is due to that style of singing, and it does cause like a tickle in the throat. Track number 6 is the first song we hear off their third album, which is called Tiny Music: Songs from the Vatican Gift Shop, and the song is called Big Bang Baby. The Tiny Music album sounded different to the first two albums. So it's not as grungy, and it shows more of their 60s and 70s influences. The song has this particular song with the 60s and 70s influences in mind. The song Big Bang Baby does seem to have big David Bowie a big David Bowie influence sound to it. And I think there is a David Bowie reference in the second verse where it says, "Station to station, send me up and out." Station to Station is the name of a David Bowie album. There is also a rumor that there is also a rumor that Kurt Cobain's suicide inspired, or that the song was a reference to his death. For track number 7, we take a trip back to the first album Tour, and it's the song Creep. Like the song Big Empty, it does have a slow acoustic intro, but it keeps to that slower acoustic sound throughout the whole song, really. With this song being from the first album, this is a very grungy sounding slow song, and it does feature like deep sad lyrics regarding things like drug use and all that. Track number 8 is from the more psychedelic 60s 70s sounding Tiny Music album, and the song is called Lady Picture Show. This song is quite a bass heavy track actually, and it does feature the singer Scott Weiland singing in a bit of a higher croon style of singing. There is also a darker feel to the song, and there is a possible Beatles reference or influence in the first verse, where the lyrics are similar to the Beatles song Eleanor Rigby. So for track number 9, we stay on the third album, and it's the song called Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart. It's the last song we hear on this CD that's from that third album, Tiny Music. And there's not a lot I could think of to say about this song, really. The main thing I notice is that the song has a faster tempo than the other songs on this CD, and I guess the song title itself is referencing drug use or tripping on acid or something like that. So for track number 10, we're going back to the second album, and this is one of their more popular songs, and it's called Interstate Love Song. If you were to listen to the instrumentation of this song, you may notice some pretty complex playing on this song, with Rob DeLeo's bass line he plays, and there is some unusual or non-typical great guitar playing from his brother Dean DeLay on top of that. And on top of both the guitar and the bass track, there is some it's got a pretty good drum sound too. Another thing that's actually quite unusual about this song compared to most other songs you'll hear, I guess, not just on this CD, but in general, is like the vocal harmonies are actually quite unusual. Track number 11 is the song called "All in the Suit That You Wear." This was the last single released by the band before they split up in 2003, and he only appears on this album, even though when you listen to it, it does sound a lot like the earlier stuff that they done. So track number 12 is the song called "Sex Type Thing," and this was the band's debut single, and it caused a lot of controversy at the time due to the lyrics talking about rape and date rape. This is without doubt my favourite song off this album and my favourite STP song overall, really. And this song was directly inspired, and the song was directly inspired by the Led Zeppelin song "In the Light," and it is probably the heaviest sounding song on this CD. So whereas track number 12 was their debut single from their debut album, track number 13, in contrast, is one of their later songs, and it's the song called "Days of the Week." This is the only song on this CD that's off their Shangri-La album. Hopefully I've said that properly. Yeah, Shangri-La album. As well as being one of their later songs on this CD, it's also one of the shortest songs on this CD, and one of the more popular sounding songs on this album too. Another thing I'll say about this song is that it's hardly been played live, and the lyrics of this song seem to be about Scott Weiland's drug issues at the time and the impact it was having on his wife at the time. Track number 14, or second to last track off this album, is the song called "Sour Girl," which is from the album called Number 4. At first, it sounds like quite a laid-back type song, but as you could probably guess from the song title, the lyrics are actually a bit depressing, and it was inspired by Scott Weiland's first divorce. The 15th and last track off this album is a live acoustic performance of their big song "Plush." This particular live performance you can easily find on YouTube and all that, and it's from a 1992 episode of Headbangers Ball, which used to be a program on MTV where they played rock and metal videos rather than the typical top 40 stuff. Both the studio version and the acoustic version of the song "Plush" are pretty good and pretty good to listen to and all that. Me personally, I prefer the original electric studio version. Some foreign editions of this greatest hits CD do have an extra track for the last song, which is a live version of one of their later songs called "Long Way Home." Overall, this is a good greatest hits CD to listen to, with loads of good songs. Like I said, the song "Sex Type Thing" is my personal favourite song from Stone Temple Pilots, and there is a big variety in how the songs sound like on this album, with, like I said, some of the earlier songs off the first album or to a more grunge sounding, whereas some of the later songs are more poppy, psychedelic, and maybe glam sounding. Please like and subscribe and put a nice little comment below. And please check out some of the playlists I've made on this channel too. Cheers.